Matt Roloff allegedly spent thousands of dollars trying to keep the world from seeing a single image. Fixers were hired. Top lawyers were brought in. Even TLC, according to rumors, was pressured to erase any trace of it online. He believed that if enough money was thrown at the past, it would stay buried in the Arizona desert forever. But he forgot one crucial rule: the internet never forgets, and neither do the people who were wronged. Now, that silence is broken. This isn't a selfie, a staged photo from the farm, or a polished promotional image. It's a booking photo. After more than a decade of speculation and fragmented discussions online, the mystery surrounding the Arizona incident has returned, now with evidence that cannot be ignored. The questions remain: why was Caryn Chandler reportedly arrested in 2011? Why does she look so different in this image from the grandmotherly figure audiences see on Little People, Big World? Most importantly, why does the charge listed on that record mirror behaviors critics have said were playing out at Roloff Farms for years? Tonight, the image Matt allegedly tried to erase is being revealed. The archive he wanted sealed is being reopened. The secret that could shake the Roloff empire is being exposed. But before diving into the evidence, it's important to remember, the truth here matters. If Amy deserves to know the full story, it's time to face it. To understand the significance, we need to go back. Caryn Chandler's history has long had an unexplained gap. Before she appeared at Roloff Farms as the pumpkin season manager, her professional timeline is fractured. Around late 2010 and throughout 2011, she virtually disappears from public records. Her LinkedIn is vague. When the show began featuring her more heavily, her resume circulated among production staff, but it completely ignores that period. For average viewers, it was insignificant. For longtime fans following the family for 20 years, it was a warning sign, a part of the story Matt wanted to hide. Rumors circulated in fan forums and private Facebook groups for years, often removed by moderators due to lack of evidence. The shopping incident in Scottsdale became the shorthand for it. Some said it began as a misunderstanding with a former employer. Others claimed it was just a civil dispute that escalated. The most common theory was that Caryn had run into serious legal trouble in Arizona before leaving for Oregon to start fresh. Where she could rebuild herself without the people who knew her past, she had a chance to create a new life. Matt Roloff, some insiders claim, played a role in shaping that new identity. According to a production assistant, Matt once said in a heated moment off camera, "I cleaned up her past." If true, this suggests their relationship was not just romantic, but transactional. Leverage, not love, may have formed the foundation. This would explain her unwavering support, her sudden betrayal of Amy, and her ability to tolerate Matt's controlling tendencies. She was, in some ways, his creation, not just his partner. Secrets like this carry weight, they anchor a brand. Chris Merrick, Amy's husband, believed the original issue must have been serious if Matt had gone to such lengths to erase it. While Matt built, instructed, and managed, Chris quietly observed. He noticed fissures in Caryn's public image. She handled money, manipulated situations, and seemed to have a gift for deceit. Chris realized that to protect Amy and truly understand their adversary, he needed to uncover what had happened in Arizona. He needed the smoking gun Matt supposedly destroyed. This became a detective-like investigation. How do you find a record a reality TV star has paid to erase? While Matt understood building the American court system was complex, records can be legally sealed or expunged, effectively disappearing from background checks and public databases. The court had no record of Caryn Chandler. For TLC, this meant she appeared clean and no further checks were done. But administrative records, like jail logs, often remain. They are harder to fully erase. Daily booking logs from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office documented all inmates, whether digitally or physically. Unlike court files, these logs track jail operations rather than legal outcomes. While an expungement removes convictions, it doesn't always remove records of arrests. Chris Merrick used this knowledge strategically. Instead of requesting Caryn by name, he requested full daily booking logs for a week in November 2011, claiming he was collecting data on Scottsdale crime statistics and real estate trends. This approach avoided suspicion. Clerks often don't have time to redact every name in old logs, and some types of administrative records are exempt from expungement. It was risky. Fees had to be paid, and the scans stored off-site required weeks to recover. But eventually, Chris obtained the materials. Page by page, he sifted through records of minor offenses, DUIs, and disorderly conduct. After careful cross-referencing, he found her. She wasn't listed under the name we know today. He had to account for her maiden name and any previous marriages. Finally, the booking photo appeared. The birthday, physical description, and image matched perfectly. This discovery was more than a photo. It revealed a side of Caryn Chandler never shown to the public. It explained the gaps in her history, her ability to navigate difficult situations, and perhaps the foundation for her behavior at roll-off farms. It confirmed what insiders had suspected for years. There was more to her story than audiences had been told. Chris's careful work showed that secrets, no matter how heavily guarded, can be uncovered with persistence and strategy. While Matt may have believed the past could be buried, the truth has a way of resurfacing. This Arizona booking photo is a symbol, not just of past mistakes, but of the consequences of trust, manipulation, and the lengths people will go to protect their image. The implications for roll-off farms are significant. Understanding Caryn's past adds context to the decisions she made, the relationships she cultivated, and the actions that ultimately led to betrayal. It also emphasizes the importance of transparency, caution, and careful vetting when trust and legacy are on the line. For years, fans and insiders speculated about the gaps in her history. Now, with evidence in hand, the pieces start to fall into place. The timeline, the legal issues, and the behavior patterns align, painting a picture of calculated reinvention and strategic alliances. While some may argue she acted within her rights, others see the depth of preparation and manipulation involved. This isn't just a story about a booking photo. It's a story about legacy, trust, and how the past can quietly influence the present. Roll-Off Farms was built on hard work, family, and resilience. It was also a stage for complex human dynamics, power struggles, and decisions with lasting consequences. The Arizona incident is now part of that story, a reminder that even the most carefully curated images, personas, and legacies can't completely hide the truth. For Matt, Amy, and Chris, the discovery was a turning point. It confirmed suspicions, provided evidence, and offered clarity on a period that had long been shrouded in mystery. For the public, it reveals the complexity behind reality television, the untold stories behind the cameras, and the very real consequences of trust and betrayal. The booking photo, the recovered records, and the uncovered history now exist as undeniable facts. The gaps in Caryn Chandler's timeline are no longer empty. The past is documented. And while the farm continues to operate, the story behind the farm, the people, and the choices made is richer, darker, and more complicated than anyone outside the Roll-Off family could have imagined. Reservation 492-01. It must have been terrifying to see that number at that moment. It wasn't just a name. It was proof of 10 years of lies. A criminal had been brought into Amy's home by Matt Roloff. He had trusted the care of their grandchildren to a woman whose dishonesty was well documented. The consequences were immediate and frightening. This was no longer just rumor. Everyone was suddenly focused on security. Protecting the farm and the family's wealth was at stake. Chris understood that the mugshot he held was more than a photo. It was a tool, the only object that could break Matt's control. But he knew he had to be careful. If he let it slip carelessly, he could face Matt's anger or a lawsuit. He needed a clear understanding of what he was holding. The photo itself is startling, but the context in which it was discovered makes it even more significant. The truth always comes out eventually, no matter how much money is thrown at keeping it hidden. Chris wasn't just an observer. He was a protector. While producers slept and viewers speculated, he was digging through Arizona records to confront Caryn Chandler. This moment marked a turning point. Caryn had previously been seen only as a girlfriend, a divisive figure who ended a marriage. After this discovery, she became something more, an actual threat. When Chris and Amy found the booking record, They learned that Caryn had been processed, charged, and booked on a felony. This was very different from the public image of her as a helpful farm manager on TLC. Suddenly, everything she had done on the farm, whispering about property boundaries, financial decisions, or negotiations, took on a more sinister meaning. She could no longer be seen as just an assistant. She was an operator. People like Matt would find the loophole Chris used alarming. It showed how fragile their carefully constructed personas were. The Freedom of Information Act, when used correctly, can reveal hidden truths and even bring down empires. Chris had pulled a stray thread from a tapestry Matt thought was secure. Before even seeing the mugshot, it's important to note that it was never meant to be seen. It was intended for destruction. That it survives is a testament to inquiry and proof. Identity cannot be fully erased. The Arizona incident is no longer a myth. Booking number 492 proves it. The image didn't show the Caryn Chandler the public knew. She appeared self-conscious, yet poised, dressed elegantly, and with her hair carefully maintained. But in the booking photo, she was unfamiliar. The fluorescent lights of the Maricopa County Detention Center gave the photo a blurry quality, yet the details were clear. She looked younger, but desperate. Her hair was messy, her makeup smudged. Maybe she had been arrested on a parking lot or sales floor, struggling to remove traces of mascara before the camera clicked. Her eyes told the story. There was no grandmotherly warmth, no compassion, only anger and rejection. That expression captured someone whose facade had been shattered under public exposure. The digital file was dated November 14, 2011. This is crucial. It is the smoking gun that disrupts the timeline Matt had tried to sell. Caryn began her quick rise at Roloff Farms in November 2011, right after this arrest. The location was downtown Phoenix's 4th Avenue Jail, a facility for some of the county's toughest cases. Seeing the woman who would later join the farm board and control the Roloff children's inheritance linked to a maximum security intake roster is jarring. Two worlds that should never intersect had collided. The emotional stakes changed. Amy's reaction to the photo was not vindication. She didn't laugh or say, "I told you so." She lost color and felt a chill. Imagine her position. For years, people called her jealous or insecure. Matt had gaslight her into believing Caryn was a rescuer for the farm, a capable volunteer. Now she realized she had invited a criminal into her home. A woman with a felony record was walking through her office, smiling at the family, handling finances, cooking dinner, raising children. It was terrifying. But the photo was just the beginning. The details beneath the chin on the booking sheet revealed more. This was not petty theft, it was a felony. The charge code Chris found, 13 to 1802 Argentine pesos, refers to theft by deception in the Arizona revised statutes. This is not shoplifting. This is a calculated crime, a white-collar offense involving deceit and falsification of facts. It is about intentionally misleading someone to gain property or money. Someone committing theft by deception uses lies to trick others for financial gain. It is premeditated manipulation, not a spur-of-the-moment mistake. The booking log led Chris further. Using the number, he pieced together the police report. The information is damning. Caryn had been involved in a return fraud scheme at a Scottsdale high-end department store. She returned items she never purchased for cash, replaced price tags, and fabricated receipts. It wasn't a single incident, it was repeated behavior. The store's loss prevention team spent weeks tracking her through CCTV. They observed her charming employees, manipulating the system, and spinning stories about missing receipts or gifted items. She walked out with hundreds of dollars that weren't hers. Every move was calculated, every lie precise. This discovery changed everything. Caryn Chandler was no longer just a controversial figure in the Roloff story. She was someone who had committed a documented, premeditated crime. She had infiltrated the family, gaining trust while hiding a serious criminal past. The consequences of this discovery rippled through the Roloff family like an earthquake. For decades, the farm had been a symbol of legacy, hard work, and trust. Now, that trust had been shattered. Matt had unknowingly placed the safety of his family and the security of roll-off farms in the hands of someone who had already demonstrated a willingness to deceive and manipulate. Every decision, every negotiation, every whispered suggestion from Caryn now had a shadow of doubt cast over it. Amy had to face a painful truth. She had been manipulated by both Matt and Caryn. Matt had wanted to help Caryn reinvent herself, and in doing so, he had ignored the possibility of danger. His protective instincts, which usually safeguarded the family, had been weaponized. Amy had welcomed a stranger into her home, someone who had the potential to harm her family, not just emotionally, but financially. Chris Merrick understood that this was bigger than a single incident. He realized the farm's future was at stake, and so was the well-being of the children. He wasn't just digging through records to satisfy curiosity. He was uncovering a pattern of calculated behavior that threatened to destabilize generations of family legacy. Every piece of evidence he uncovered, the booking record, the mugshot, the police reports, was a thread leading to the truth about Caryn Chandler. The Arizona booking was only the tip of the iceberg. Once he had the record, Chris began to piece together the timeline. November 2011 marked the arrest. By December, Caryn was already appearing at roll-off farms, working on the pumpkin season, seamlessly slipping into the family's world. This was more than coincidence. It was a strategic move. She had used the system, the expungement, and Matt's generosity to her advantage. She had leveraged a clean public image to mask a criminal past. The evidence showed a calculated ability to manipulate perception. Caryn understood optics, how to present herself to appear trustworthy, capable, and benevolent. She had spent years perfecting the art of deception. She didn't just infiltrate the roll-off family, she did it with precision, ensuring that every step of her path was legally defensible, socially acceptable, and emotionally manipulative. She knew Matt's weaknesses, his desire to help and control, and she used them to secure her place in the farm's operations. Meanwhile, the sale of half the farm for $3.5 million gained new context. Once Matt realized the scope of her deception, he could see the foresight behind her actions. The legal authority she held over her share allowed her to make independent financial decisions. Her sudden change in behavior, her private meetings, and overseas travel now made sense. She wasn't just acting opportunistically.